Yesterday on the checklist of assignments with science, it told you the only thing you were supposed to do on this sheet was to label the parts that had liquid water. Now, the information down in the questions should have given you some words to use. But you should not have labeled all the parts of this, and you should not have answered the question. So I did take off some points if you were not able to follow that direction. However, today what we're going to do is we'll start there and label the parts of this hydrologic cycle. It's also called the water cycle. But hydro is one of those Greek and Latin roots that means water. So it's important to get familiar with it. So if you look at this arrow going from the sun, that has nothing to do with liquid water, so you should not have put anything there. If you look at the arrow going from this large body of liquid water up into the air, it is no longer liquid when it goes into the air. So that you should also not have labeled. If it's in the air going into a cloud, that is when it does become liquid. And so here is condensation. That is definitely liquid. It's when gas that you can't see turns into liquid that you can see. So if you did not have this on your graphic, your sheet, you should make sure you are changing that, okay? Because we are only looking at liquid in the hydrologic cycle. In fact, go ahead and write that off to the side if you still don't have it. So condensation definitely is where water turns back into a liquid. When the condensed water falls to the earth, that is called precipitation, and it is sometimes a solid if it is below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So 33 degrees Fahrenheit, if it is greater than, then we can call precipitation a place where liquid shows up in the hydrologic cycle. I wouldn't count it wrong if you did not write that it had to be greater than 33 degrees Fahrenheit yesterday, but today make sure you do have that jotted on. So precipitation is definitely liquid in the hydrologic cycle if it is greater than 33 degrees. Now, once it's on Earth, see how this water is on the surface and it is running along the surface? So this is surface runoff. This arrow right here. If liquid water is running off the surface, it's definitely a liquid. Solid water just sits on the surface until either it evaporates directly up, and yes, snow can evaporate directly into the atmosphere, or when it turns into a liquid because it has melted, it then becomes liquid on the surface and it either runs off or does the other thing that liquid water does. This one right here is percolation, where it goes through the layers of soil, and water is liquid when it percolates down through the surface of the earth. Once water has percolated down underneath Earth's surface, very often it pools into aquifers. This was not already on here. So an aquifer is just, no, I think it's aqua. Aquifer is simply liquid water that's underneath the surface of the earth. Then that often will keep on going downhill until it springs forth into a larger body of water, like a lake or an ocean, and this is definitely surface water. So that is where liquid shows up in the hydrologic cycle. You'll notice there's an arrow going from the trees up into the clouds. Do you see liquid water drops going from the trees up into the air? Certainly not. So transpiration is not part of the liquid showing up in the hydrologic cycle. With that in mind now, you do need to answer the questions today. Is groundwater liquid? So groundwater is or is not liquid. Oh, by the way, I forgot to put groundwater here. This water, when it's under the ground, is called groundwater. This is not like some science words, percolation, you might not be exactly sure. Groundwater, water in the ground. Okay, got that. When water evaporates, is it a liquid? So think. Evaporation is when water goes from being in your cup or on your cup or in the lake where you can see it up into the air where the molecules are farther apart. They are not taking on the shape of their container. So is it a liquid when it evaporates? When water precipitates, is it a liquid? If you had an answer here yesterday, I want your answer today to reflect what we put on this graphic. You may not say water is sometimes liquid when it precipitates. Be very specific. When is it that water is liquid as it precipitates from the sky? When water runs off the surface, is it liquid? When water percolates through the surface of the earth and goes underground, is it liquid? So again, you'll notice these lines are a little long. Why? When water percolates through the surface of the earth and goes underground, it is liquid. Or when water percolates and goes through the surface of the earth and goes underground, it is not liquid. Whatever you think is the correct answer, all of that gets written on the line. Why? Because you need to start applying words like percolate, surface, underground, liquid, runoff, precipitate, evaporate, and we're applying all of these ideas of liquids. Number 6, when water transpires from trees, is it a liquid? And if you missed that part at the end where I was talking about our hydrologic cycle, rewind this video. Make sure you have good, thorough, complete answers that use words of the question as most of the answer for this assignment. Get a picture sent to me, please, and thank you.